Begin transmission. Hello, everybody. It is Chris, Milton, and Ben for Outer Rim Transmission. This is episode 221. We are talking about a big one this time around, guys. We are talking about a new Star Wars trailer for the next Lucasfilm-produced animated Star Wars series, and this is Star Wars Maul Shadow Lord. We got the trailer for those of you that were at the Japan celebration, but now the entire world can finally see this officially, I should say. But this is a completely different trailer, I will say right off the top, than what I've seen in Japan, which is awesome. But yes, we're going to dive deep into this. We're going to do a good old, one of my favorite episodes of this show is the trailer breakdown. So we're going to get into that. We're going to get into our impressions, maybe some speculation, maybe some theories along the way about what we could expect from this show that's going to start streaming pretty close in about 2 months' time in April. So really looking forward to the episode tonight. Milton, how's it going, man?
It's going well, man. I'm glad to be back on the podcast, talking some Star Wars. I'm excited about this new show. I can't wait to get into it. Obviously, we talked about before we got on the podcast how cold and snowy in the Northeast has been. So hopefully, it's not crazy in the next couple weeks. But yeah, I can't wait to talk about Darth Maul and what's coming because it looks pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, as a Star Wars fan, I'm sure all of us are out there shoveling snow, making trenches, going, where's the AT-ATs, where's the Tauntauns, where's the probe droids flying around, because that's what our brains go to immediately. Is that correct assumption, Ben? Actually, I think you did send us a video in our group chat about something about calling for rescue from Echo Base or something.
Yeah. I even sent a video actually to one of our other Star Wars YouTube friends, Commander Jesse, because he lives in Australia and, they don't get snow virtually at all. And I sent him a video when it was like, I went outside when it was like 0 degrees. The wind was blowing like 35 mile an hour and it was just complete whiteout. And I was just like sending him Star Wars videos and he was like, holy crap, dude, that is insane. And yeah, it's just been crazy over this way. But, hopefully in the next few weeks or months, hopefully it gets nicer weather for all of us so we can move past this. But it's funny that we're talking about Maul tonight and this whole time period because that's a perfect segue to my week in Star Wars, because so over the weekend when my girlfriend was here, I just happened to be moving some stuff around in the garage, and I actually found in a box an old, now talk about blast from the past, and it might make all of us feel old, from 27 years ago essentially, a droid starfighter from Phantom Menace, and it's literally one of these starfighters that are you have like a handle, you put it on a handle so you can fly it around essentially. And I found it just like at the bottom of a box. And I was like, holy smokes, I got to show this to the guys in the podcast, our podcast viewers and in our community, because, this is like, talk about a memory, like I said, this was 27 years ago. I was 6 years old when I got this thing. So yeah, that was kind of my week in Star Wars, just finding a little piece of the past, or as a shout out to the book Shards of the Past, a little shard of the past when it comes to the Phantom Menace.
Hey, Chris, you're on mute.
Oh, Chris, you're muted, yeah.
No, I'm actually on muted. I thought I was typing, and then I wasn't, and then the mic was picking it up. Hey, here we go. It's only February, and it's like the 4th or 5th year doing this podcast. I'm still making ridiculous mistakes. But anyways, I love that because yours goes hand in hand, Ben, with my week in Star Wars. I sent you a video. I was cruising around the mall and I found this like really cool store that I've never been to that just happens to have an entire wall of like every possible Star Wars franchise action figure over the years. I'm talking about the branding of The Force Awakens. I'm talking about the branding of Power of the Force. And I'm talking about the branding of good old Maul packaging, as Chris Seek over at the Star Wars Underworld likes to say on the intro of their podcast every week. I'm nostalgic for Maul packaging. And man, oh man, I am, especially this week, especially with Darth Maul at the forefront of our minds. It was pretty awesome, Milton, to just go ahead and look around and go, oh, I picked up an A-wing fighter, Power of the Force with like the green background, and it's like, oh man, this is just good stuff. And then of course they had the modern figures, Hasbro figures too, but just seeing all the Kenner figures in a nice organized fashion they're really mint condition too. I was surprised. I'm like, oh, usually you find these things and like the cardboard's bent at the edges and whatnot, but I'm going, this is a nice little treasure trove I found. So that was mine. But yeah, we're talking about, Phantom Menace era collectibles. This is great.
Nice. I think my week in Star Wars, I think I messaged you guys that I've been, well, one, let's talk about the snow. So yesterday, actually, I was at my younger sister's housewarming party, and somehow we got on a conversation about the snow. And my brother-in-law, who's not the biggest Star Wars fan, but he's aware of it, made a comment to my one sister about, man, it feels like Hoth is like outside or something like that. And my sister was like, what? And she kept saying like,
What?
Hoth, what are you talking about? She thought we were making like a funny joke. And I'm like, Courtney, I'm like, it's Star Wars. And she's like, oh, I have no idea. And I'm like, oh my God, you need to watch. Like, she doesn't watch movies. She's never been like that. She's very much in her mom mode right now. But it's like, oh my God, like everyone knows what Hoth is, but then no, people don't know. So that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
What I've been listening to lately, I've been going back and listening to the Legacy of the Force audiobooks. I
Love those.
just finished book one, which is Bloodline. And I think book two, I forget what that one is, but yeah, I'm in the middle of book two right now. They still hold up. And I just tell myself all the time, we should have got these stories in the live action of like, post Return of the Jedi.
Oh yeah. I think the best part about those books, Milton, it's just like the fact that we always talk about like canon and continuity and yada yada yada. The good thing about the way they did Legends back then, even though it was different authors for virtually every project, unless it was like, any repetitive ones like Zahn or whoever, they followed pretty much the stories beat by beat from like the prior books. So like, they're you never feel like there's like a misstep of continuity for the most part. So that's so nice about that series. Like that Legacy of the Force series is one of my favorites.
Yeah, no, I love it. And it's funny because book one is Betrayal. And so book two
Yep.
is Bloodline. And so because I know with Ahsoka season 2 coming in shortly, whenever that's released, they're going to talk about Abeloth character.
Oh.
Yep. It looks like it.
Looks like it. But like,
Mm-hmm.
if you listen to book one of Legacy of the Force, I'm pretty sure that Lumaya character is like she's like a spinoff of like Abeloth. Because they talk about the light whip, they talk about like her face being all like jacked up. And I'm thinking like I legit thought about Abeloth the whole time whenever they mentioned like the Lumaya character and how they described her. And I'm thinking, wait, is this where they got, whatever from? So it was just curious to just think about that, knowing that we're getting this particular character potentially in Ahsoka. And I'm sure it has nothing to do with it. Maybe it has some ties to it. But it's just interesting to think about, wait, they're actually pulling from Legends. And that makes sense if it's Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau who's working on the show and whatnot. So it just, I don't know. It just made me think about it.
Well, that's definitely going to be a theme tonight because there's a big element in the small trailer that dates back to Legends or maybe even canon stuff relating to what George Lucas had on his mind at a certain time. But getting back to these books now, correct me if I'm wrong, Legacy of Force was like the final series before things became like Legends, right? Like that was like the tail end of Legends.
They did like a post series too. It was like, what was it called? It's like it was like Apocalypse or something. It was the New Jedi Order, Legacy of the Force, and I forget what the other series was.
Yeah, it's some, but I think this is the main line because this Legacy of the Force is the one that's like 9 books, right?
Yes.
Wow, really?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Sheesh.
Yeah, so Legacy of the Force and Legacy of the Force also, Chris, to give you a little hint, I'm pretty sure this is the series that has the little, it's like a B or C plot story, which is awesome, but it's a minor story, or it's a lesser story point where you have an older grizzled Boba Fett. He finds out he's dying, and he has to hunt down a remaining clone to get a DNA sample to keep himself alive.
Oh, it's his
And
daughter.
Yep, yep. And I really like that. That whole series, I feel like, it leads up to a perfect point. Milton, that series like really solidifies like a lot of our views of Luke, in my opinion, for Legends, like, his power level, how wise he is, like all that stuff.
Right.
And then of course all the, the new generation of Jedi and villains and stuff. But yeah, it's a must recommended read, I would say.
Yeah, Chris, you would thoroughly enjoy it. Like it's, because the end. I mean, spoilers at the end of book
Okay.
one, Jason Solo he's being tempted by this Lumaya character who knew Vader way back when,
Wow.
who isn't a Sith, but
Huh.
she's been trained in
Yep.
the dark side of the Force, and she's trying to convince him to say, like, listen, if you join the dark side, you're going to save a lot of lives. And the scene's pretty cool because he's like, yeah, this is bullshit, blah blah blah. But then he's actually curious, and it's not like he's evil. He's just thinking about what the future could hold if he does this. And then there's a character, well, Ben Skywalker's with him, and then there's another
Yep.
character with him in the scene, and they're like, Jason, why are you entertaining this? And he's like, there might be some truth to some of this. And then something happens where he's like, well, I got to do what I got to do. Pretty much, it's kind of like an Anakin reverse storyline of him, and it's like, okay, like it's pretty cool how they get him to take that next step to the dark side. But it's a cool book series, man. It's not perfect in a
Yeah.
sense of like there are some weird
And
storylines, but overall, it's through and through perfect.
Damn.
oh, 100%. And like the thing is, it has its stakes. I mean, that's the series where they kill off one of the greatest characters in Star Wars history in Mara Jade. I mean,
Oh,
it
crap.
Yeah.
it's a great series. It's whatever book that has her on the cover. This shows my recollection of Legends. I think the book she gets knocked off in is Inferno. I think it's the one with her on the cover.
I got it right here. It's
man.
I want to say it's it's Sacrifice, I believe, or Inferno. One
Oh,
of the two.
Sacrifice. That's what it is.
I think
It's
I've seen the
Sacrifice
cover
or
for that
Inferno.
one.
I know that for a fact. Yep.
And like the cover art to these books are pretty cool, Chris. Like they're all pretty BA.
Yeah.
Like they're badass.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. I mean, now is probably, I always talk, guys, about my excuse for not doing Legends is that I'm too damn busy reading canonical stuff coming out. This might be about the largest gap in Star Wars published material we've had since the buyout of Lucasfilm. Because
Yeah.
literally the book is not even out. It's coming out on Tuesday. We have a book in February coming out, which is the Outlaws book, Low Red Moon. By the way, I'll plug myself because I was talking about that very book in a spoiler-filled discussion with Joel Davis over on the Star Wars Underworld on Wednesday. So check out that spoiler-filled review, the Ion Cannon bonus episode we did there for that. But now there won't be a book coming out until I think July 28th, the day after my birthday, which is going to be the Rey Leia novel that takes place in between Rise and Last Jedi. So yeah, that's a very substantial gap in Star Wars books. So I might have to dive in now. And I mean, I was honestly
it's worth it. Like it's
yeah. Well, here's the thing. I already have. It's not called A New Dawn. It's the first Legends canon timeline book that's like Dawn of the Jedi. That's what it is. Dawn of the Jedi. I only read like a couple chapters and then I put it down. So I'm going to try to pick that up, read through all the Knights of the Republic comics, and basically go from the old Republic era all the way to the Legacy of the Force era. It'll take me like 20 years at this rate I'm going, but I'm going to try to read Legends in chronological order. I have most of the old Republic era now.
One thing I do want to give a shout, since you're planning on doing it in that way, even though it's titled as a young adult series, I 1000% recommend, I'm sure Milton remembers this, it's like a 10 or 11 book Obi-Wan book series. It's a young adult series of Obi-Wan pre-Phantom Menace, of how he becomes Qui-Gon's Padawan.
Wow.
And it's excellent. Like you find out about Qui-Gon's other Padawan that he had that basically goes bad, and it's amazing series. And to me, like I said, it's a young adult series, so it's only like 150 page per book, so it's a super quick read,
Nice.
but excellent.
Yeah, it's worth it. And like, you definitely get to see why. For one, Obi-Wan wasn't like that all-world Jedi. Like, he struggled, and he was on the
Yep.
brink of not being an apprentice. And then obviously you see why why Qui-Gon didn't want to have another apprentice, and they get into it. So it's like, oh, okay, it
He's not
explains
even
their
as a
relationship.
Chris. He's not even as an apprentice for like 5 or 6 books.
Yeah,
Oh wow.
Mhm.
it's interesting, man. Like I don't know. I just feel like with everything we've gotten over the last 20 something years, like there's so many stories that were told book form that we should have gotten, whether it's shows or animations. It's like, man, these writers and short story people were kicking ass back in like the 2000s and late 90s, so
Damn. Yeah, and going back to your first comment about the story with the snow and your sister and all, I think at this point, like people that don't even know Star Wars well, like you're basically mentioning, like I feel like there's people out there that know what Hoth is and haven't even watched Empire Strikes Back because of osmosis through
yeah,
social media. Like osmosis through like
right,
looking on your feed and then like some buddy's gonna say, "Oh, it's like Hoth out here," and then they might have
yes,
like a meme or they might have like a little picture of Hoth or something or like a little gif of like an AT-AT firing on Hoth or something like that. Like it's so much like really kind of got its nails into society at this point. Like I can't really recall any other thing that people might equate snow to at this point in pop culture when it does snow. You know what I mean? Like there's no other reference that trumps basically the Hoth reference, So
yeah,
there we
it
go.
really doesn't. I don't hear anyone saying like Star Killer Base. you
Yeah.
know,
No,
no one referenced Star Killer Base.
I don't even think J.J. Abrams would say it was like Star Killer Base outside. He'd probably say it's Hoth.
Oh man. Well, with that being said, we're going to get into what we're all here excited to talk about. But first, a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, there was no new comics. That's another thing I wanted to mention. There's like very few comics these days. I think we're going 3 weeks without a single new comic. Another reason why I have more time to read. It's Legends. But yeah, so there's nothing new to pick up this week, basically. The next week, you have a new Star Wars book, Low Red Moon by Mike Chen. But yeah, that's it for that. Real quick, if you want to listen to this podcast, just search Outer Rim Transmission. We're available on Apple, Spotify, whatever podcast platform you choose to listen on. And we are also going on YouTube Live, youtube.com/Starrapter. Hit the bell icon to be notified when we go live. And you can follow me on twitter.com or x.com/Starrapter to know the days specifically. I will always post the morning of that we are going live that day. So go ahead and follow me there to make sure that you never miss another live stream because we'd love to have you guys in the chat. Just how like Derpy 501st 2 is calling out Milton for his apparel choice tonight. So uh-oh, it looks like you're
Hopefully
muted.
he likes it. Hopefully he likes it. I mean, it's you know.
Yeah, so that's what's fun. We like call people out in the chat, or people will call us out in the chat as that was happening tonight. So fun stuff there. But yes, so we're getting into it. So I think it was on a Monday, and this was what's crazy, right? Because it was the Monday after we recorded. It always happens. Like we always get the big news like the day after we go live or something. And I'm sitting down there in the basement, gathering up all my Star Wars Legion miniatures. I'm playing a game that Friday coming up. And I pick out, I'm like, ooh, what army am I going to play? Am I going to play Ewok army? Am I going to play the Rebel army? Am I going to play as the clone army? And then I'm like, ooh, look at this Darth Maul shiny miniature from the Shadow Collective Battle Force. Maybe I should play as him. And then no sooner did I put out the miniature, I just happened to check my phone and it said, teaser for Maul Shadow Lord dropping tomorrow. And I'm like, that is just crazy coincidence. I was looking at the Darth Maul miniature, and I look at my phone, and there it is. And it was really cool. I want to start off by just, first of all, talking about props to Lucasfilm for me personally, and all the content creators out there giving us a heads up that the trailer would come out the next day, because I was ready to go and I was ready to turn on the camera and react to the video, which you could find. But what was really cool, because I usually don't like the idea of the trailer before the trailer promotion, because it's usually just like a cut up version of the trailer. But actually, Lucasfilm went ahead and they actually made their own specific, like really artistically well made teaser trailer that was very what is the abstract, I guess is the proper word, of like a lot of reds, a lot of blacks, and there's like some stuff with like Obi-Wan and Maul, like the fateful duel on Tatooine. There's a lot of cool stuff in that little preview that was like a 20 or 30-second little thing to get us hyped for the next day. So props, first of all, to Disney for putting that one out there. But yes, and then talking about the actual trailer itself, we're going to go around the room, give our first impressions, and then we're going to dive into several screenshots I took from this thing. I'm going to throw it over to Ben this time. What was your initial reaction to watching the teaser trailer from Maul Shadow Lord for the first time?
I mean, my initial reaction genuinely was I texted my friend Alex, who always listens to our show, and said, well, we were right, because we both said when that Dave news came out the week prior, we were like, I bet we're going to get probably the Maul trailer or something next week, because, you know, it's kind of a nice way to kick off Dave becoming the co-president of Lucasfilm. And, you know, here we are. So I think that was my first reaction, was like, dang, this is like the first time I feel like I was able to predict something, you know, based on like what's going on with the president of Lucasfilm, which was nice. So that was a nice coincidence. And then of course, like my initial reaction was just, you know, it was what I expected, I guess, from a Maul trailer. Like I guess for me, guys, and for our viewers and listeners, like, to me, when it comes to Star Wars, like, you see the Maul trailer and that's Star Wars to me. You know what I mean? Like I watched that and I'm like, yeah, that's a Star Wars show. So like that was my big reaction. Was like, yeah, it fits. It's you know, it feels like Star Wars. It has its Star Wars moments. And yeah, it's a Star Wars show. So, you know, it looks good.
Heck yeah, it checks off all the boxes. There's a certain spider sense that us fans have that go, oh, this feels like Star Wars, or this feels like more like Star Wars adjacent or something. It's like, yes, no,
you know
this
what
is
doesn't feel like Star Wars?
Andor.
You know what doesn't feel like Star Wars? When you see Sid. Well, Andor. Shout out Tony Gilroy. But what doesn't feel like Star Wars is when you see Sid in a trailer. Shout out Bad Batch.
Oh yeah.
God, yeah.
Although we've seen somebody that looks very similar to Sid in this trailer, which I'm going to have a screenshot for. But yeah, Milton, what was your reaction to the teaser trailer here?
I really liked it. I think it did what it needed to do. It didn't give us too much. I mean, look, we already know that we know the fate of this character. So spoilers. If you haven't paid attention to Star Wars in 10 years, you know the spoiler of Darth Maul and his fate. However, what we don't know, and I know we got tidbits of it in the comics, what was he doing post, you know, Galactic Empire when it was wiped out and whenever, you know, the Empire was, you know, being formed. So we know he was building up his regime. How did he do it? How did he gain power? Why was he so loyal to Palpatine still and didn't reveal who he was? Even though he knows he should have been Darth Vader. He should have been Anakin Skywalker. And then for him to just get cast aside and he's like, well, I'm going to do my own thing now. That I'm curious. Why did he do that? Why didn't he just put Palpatine business out there like that? So I'm curious to see how they explore that. I thought this trailer gave us enough to where they're saying, okay, he's going to be building up his little regime, but also he's going to be conflicted. He's also going to be dealing with some things that's unexpected. So I'm excited. I like the trailer. It looked great. It was very much Clone Wars animation, but the animation gets better each year every time they do it. So I'm excited, and it's Sam Witwer. What can't you be excited about? So I'm excited. Yeah,
love that, man. Love that, because you're right. It's this stuff that we see about Maul. We know about him, but there's a lot we don't know, and specifically with Solo Star Wars story, we were all caught aback, taken aback when it was like all of a sudden he appears in a hologram, and he's actually the one in charge of a criminal syndicate. It's like, wait, so I want to know that story, and then unfortunately we didn't get that. But now there's no indication that we are getting that in this series, but there's a little bit more hope to it. Like, okay, he is dealing with the underbelly of this new location that we're gonna be talking about tonight. But yeah, I mean, overall, to my thoughts, I'm going, this was great. As I said off the top of the show, I've seen that trailer, the original one they showed us when they first revealed the show back in April, and I was really hoping that it wasn't going to be just a bunch of recycled content for that, and I don't even know if there was a single recycled content from that, because this was really awesome, really thrilling. Got to see how great the art style is and how much Joel Aaron and Keith Kellogg, I think is the gentleman's name that's behind like the visual effects and all that. It's great because you do have, and I have the article here so I could just check, but you do have like the original team of people that are instrumental in bringing the Clone Wars and all. And I'm going to just read off the list here. I mean, we have Brad Rao, who is the showrunner with for the Bad Batch. We have obviously Dave Filoni. He's actually one of the thought people behind this series as well. He's still very much involved, even though he is co-president. Athena Portillo is on this one. Matt Miknovitz, who's been instrumental in writing so many episodes that we all love with Star Wars animation. Carrie Beck. There's Josh Rhimes, Alex Spotwood. Like I said, you have Joel Aaron, who's doing the art. Or the lighting. It's the lighting, and I'm gonna have to keep looking because I want to get the one guy's name right. But it's definitely a continuation of what we know, and it seems that everybody has just kept getting better and better and better when it comes to like creating the animated things in Star Wars. And we love the animated things in Star Wars because they bring us some of the best moments in Star Wars. Here is you look at the Clone Wars, you look at Bad Batch, Star Wars Rebels. Like there's so many moments where the fans are like, oh, we're telling our friends that they got to watch the animated stuff because we have friends that just watch live action stuff. You're like, guys, you do not know what you're missing. You got to start watching Clone Wars. You got to start watching this and that. And it might sound crazy at the time, but it's like, no, this is the reason why. And it's because of shows like this. But I want to go over a little bit about what StarWars.com has said about this series before we dive in a little bit deeper with these awesome screenshots here. But yeah, so let's see. Okay, so we're gonna start from Janix. So Janix is this new planet, and I thought it was Coruscant at first. Let's see. Okay, so today the first teaser trailer and poster for the animated series arrived, giving fans a first glimpse at the world of Janix and the machinations of the underworld playing out in an era near the beginning of the Emperor Palpatine's reign. Let's see, beginning with a 2-episode premiere on Disney Plus, April 6, 2026. 2 episodes every week leading to a finale on Star Wars Day, May the 4th. So this is a pulpy adventure that finds Maul plotting to rebuild his criminal syndicate on a planet untouched by the Empire. There he crosses paths with a disillusioned young Jedi Padawan, well, that's new information I didn't capture before, who may just be the apprentice he is seeking to aid him in his relentless pursuit for revenge. The voice cast is led by Sam Witwer, who also lent his voice to Maul in Star Wars, The Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, and beyond as Maul. We have Gideon Adlon, who is playing Devon Azara, who is the Red Twi'lek. We also have, this is pretty cool, a recent Golden Globe winner and Oscar nominee, Wagner Moura as Brander Lawson, and Richard Yado as Two Boots. The latter duo will also feature in the Marvel Comics. That's really cool. So they are basically like, you have these characters of Brander Lawson and Two Boots. Yeah, and these are like the foil to Maul. These are the guys that are the private investigators, or the it's funny, like the guy's name is Lawson, he's part of the law. It's funny how like Clone Wars names characters like I'm a gun die and stuff, like they guy that dies. They always do that. But this is cool. This is cool. And So right off the bat, I guess we'll break that down. What are you guys thinking of the episode count, the way they're releasing it with like 2 episodes a week? I'll throw it over to you, Ben.
For me, I think it's really good. For these animated shows, we've had countless number. I mean, heck, even with the hour long shows like Andor, we've had these countless long things where it's like, oh, we get this show and we're like, dang, we wish we could have seen the next part of it. And especially that's amplified with the animation because, we've had Bad Batch, for example, where, we get an episode and we're like, ugh. We come on here and we don't really know what to talk about for an hour because it was just like 22 minutes of just, I don't know, just random stuff. And the thing is, like, don't get me wrong, this Darth Maul series isn't nearly as long as the Bad Batch. So I think it'll be more tight knit and more focused, which I think it'll help the story development. But if there is a potential dud episode in this series, having another episode paired with it will help basically prevent any issues coming up, or it'll help wipe away criticism. So I think that's a good thing for just overall like reviews from a reviewer's perspective. And then there's, of course, just helps the story carry on a little better versus we've had so many moments in Bad Batch where we finish an episode and we're like, well, not really excited for next week, but at least when an episode's paired with another one, it can blunt potential. I think the only benefit of having double episodes is, it being able to basically blunt any negativity from a dud.
Yes, and it's funny that you mentioned episodes and Bad Batch feeling like we wanted a little bit more after watching them. The StarWars.com article literally has Brad Rao addressing that very concern of a lot of the audience. So it says in the article, he says, this show's highly serialized, very connected all the way through. And I think that's exactly a poke at the fans saying, we heard you loud and clear. You guys don't want to have any of those episodes that kind of go nowhere. We don't want to have any of those creature episodes. We're just running around trying to kill a Dianoga or something. No, this is a serialized. And there's another article that I'm also going to reference. IGN earlier last week had a nice sit down and went over even more stuff. And it seems like this series is going to be more of that Andor kind of gritty, boots on the ground, more realistic, like realism as far as like storylines with like a crime procedural, which is really just like, that sounds awesome. And I'd rather have 10 episodes of something very specific like that. And we're coming off of, Ben, last year or the year before, HBO's fantastic series Penguin with Colin Farrell. And that's the first thing I thought of is like, that series was focused around a villain or anti-hero at the very least. And they did a great job with that one. So if Star Wars can take a piece from that,
You can,
Yeah,
you can definitely amp up the, you can definitely take it from a villain's angle as long as you make the characters around them very relatable or not relatable. Because I mean, Star Wars, it's hard to with an animated show, but you make the characters around them, be characters that people get attached to or like, and that's why for me going into the series, I pointed at his potential apprentice as a character. We might get our thing like we did in Penguin where, Maul has this chick and then eventually, and not instead of Maul taking her out, spoiler for Penguin, but instead of Maul taking her out, it might be Vader. And that's kind of like what I think we might head toward just because, like the problem is when you introduce these characters, she's a character that is going to have to bite the dust eventually in this series because then it begs the question, why isn't she with him hunting Kenobi down in Rebels? You know what I mean? Or why isn't she, that's the only thing about going backwards in Star Wars. You have to answer a lot of questions.
Yeah. So exactly. That's the thing, right? Is we want to figure out where this character is. And I'm going to spend a lot of time when we start going through the screenshots about that one. But yeah, there's a lot of different ways you can go with it. But yeah, it's about the characters outside of Maul. And another character I think we're really going to dive deep into, and as I said a minute ago, Brander Lawson, this character that we also learned his background this week. Apparently, he used to be a bounty hunter, and now he has kind of turned to a side of good, and he's a single father raising his daughter. So instantly, it's like, oh, there's a lot more to this character than a lot of these other characters we've seen in the franchise, because now there's more of a hook with this character. We get to see like what the stakes are for that character. Now he's the provider of this daughter, the only provider of his daughter. So he's got to really hopefully survive, because if he dies, it's like, oh goodness, what happens to the daughter? So I'm already liking that the stakes like already seem pretty good from just a couple little synopsis and whatnot.
Oh yeah, I agree. I think the stakes definitely look to be there.
Yeah, and another. Okay, so this is Matt Michnovitz, the executive producer, says it's a super fast-paced series. We wanted to create an action-packed thrill ride, something that had the rush of a roller coaster. So we do a lot of homages to the classic serials of the day, which gave George Lucas the inspiration for Star Wars, and we've got the perfect character to drive us through this in Maul. Another thing that was really cool in this article is how Milton, they explain, and we were talking about this, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, when we were talking about the succession of Dave Filoni and who might follow him up. I think it could be Sam Witwer, because the way they're explaining it in this article, they're saying of how good Sam Witwer is at talking to the other actors. And I'm assuming that like they're doing the acting all together like they did with Rebels. Like all the actors are on the same soundstage. They're not doing it remote from home. Like they're getting in-person experience. And throughout the takes, Sam Witwer seems to be giving off all his knowledge about Star Wars and helping people out and all that sort of thing. And I'm going, this is exactly what Dave Filoni was doing for all those years. And we see where he is now. So Milton, I love that you had mentioned you're super psyched about Sam Witwer as the voice actor, but it does seem like he's also just being really generous with helping behind the scenes as well. I think he might be executive producer as well. It would seem like he would be at this point, but
I'm about to say, if he's not,
I think he is.
Yeah, I'm about to say, if he's not, that's a foolish decision not to make him, because one, I mean, look, Sam is one of the most knowledgeable people out there when it comes to not only pop culture, because he's like a super nerd, but when it comes to Star Wars itself, I mean, he's been on the record for years talking about the knowledge that he has, but his willingness to listen and learn, and his conversations with George and Dave. So it just makes sense that he's doing this when he's trying to teach the other actors about the lore of Star Wars, and hey, this person wouldn't say this person wouldn't react this way. Like, that makes sense. And then talking about the future, Sam Witwer wouldn't be a surprising pick to someday run Lucasfilm, which would be awesome because he understands it. And it's not like he's a fan running the department if he's in that position. He's a fan that's objective and understands what's best for the IP. I think Sam would be willing to listen to not only the money people, but also the creatives, the producers, and say, hey, okay, I like your ideas. We can use this, but we got to make sure we get to this point, because this is what it's all about. I think he's objective enough to say, I'll listen to you guys. I'll consult. I'll be a team, but remember, this is Star Wars.
Yeah.
So I think it makes sense, and it's fascinating to see, because I've been seeing a lot of him on my timeline lately on Instagram, just talking about Star Wars knowledge and facts and whatnot. So he would be a perfect, I know this is not until down the road, but he'd be a perfect next in line after Dave is done.
Oh, yeah. And just to clear up the blip I was talking about before, it is animation director Keith Kellogg. He's been with Lucasfilm since, I believe, the Clone Wars. So, again, it's just so cool to see. And as we're going to take a look in a moment here about like the actual screenshots and just the idea of how the art team was talking about their different approach to the storytelling with the way they were designing the art for this show in mind. They are going back to the old ways, and they were doing matte paintings. They were doing some different method of painting on glass. So some really cool, inventive, unique ways to switch things up. And they were talking about the detail in the facial animations is just completely so much better than it used to be. So there's so much more resources. I know this show's it's been, you know, in the realm of development for a long time. We thought we would get this a while ago, but it's like, hey, if it takes that amount of time to get it right, then we can't really have these guys rush this thing out the door, because we want to see the best thing possible. And this seems like everybody on this project, from what I can tell, seems to be really proud, really excited to deliver this one to us. There's one last thing I want to talk about, just the bunch of the voice actors before we get in. I'm just going to ramble off a bunch of characters, a bunch of names, then we'll dive in to all the goodness of the trailer. So first of all, in addition to Sam Witwer as Maul and Gideon Adlon as Devon Azaro, Brandon Lawson we talked about, Two Boots we talked about, but we also have Dennis Haysbert as Master Iko Dio Daki, who I think could be maybe the master of Devon the Twi'lek. We also have Chris Diamastopoulos as Luti Vario. We have Charlie Bushnell as Riley Lawson. We have Vanessa Marshall reprising her role as the Mandalorian Rook Cass has seen in the Clone Wars. We also have good old Lucasfilm guy from all the animation, David W. Collins as Spybot. We have AJ Lucasio as Marak. Yes, the Marak that was from Ahsoka Season 1 that disappeared into a cloud of dust. That guy is going to be in this alive this time. We also have Steve Blum. We all know him as Gareth Zeb Aurelius as this character named Icarus. What I find interesting about this cast list is there's like basically one name that I'm familiar with. Every other name in this one is like a completely new character. So this will be a lot of world building in the Star Wars galaxy. And this seems like it's all set on Janix, which is this new city planet, which is going to be really cool. But yeah, I'm excited to just see more about the character roster of Star Wars expanding. And I'm sure we're going to get a lot of cameos, as we always do in the animation and whatnot. But yeah, I think it's time good as any to dive on into our screenshots here, just as my light died. So it's perfect timing. So we're looking at our first shot of the really, I like the way the trailer starts. A lot of narration from Maul, just talking directly to Devon as he's kind of persuading her to the reasons why she should join him and his alliance to make the galaxy a better place or something like that. Right. We are on the heels of the Order 66. Obviously, the Empire does not want to have Force users around, and they are going around eradicating them with the Inquisitors. And we see a couple of them in this trailer. But yeah, I love the establishing shot here of the overhead shot. I thought this was definitely Coruscant from the get-go, but it seems, alas, that it is the new location, Janix. But yeah, I mean, anybody have anything to say about how this actually looks with like the neon? Because I think it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it looks good, and I think this is going to be our new, like you said, the main. It's going to be our new Lothal for this series, essentially.
Oh, I really like
think,
that.
First of all, it's beautiful. I think it's a beautiful shot. It looks, we know it's animation, but it has that real feel to it. So yeah, I think it's a gorgeous shot.
Yeah, and then we go to our next image here, and this is really cool because I was seriously thinking about doing this in Japan, but it's literally Darth Maul doing a tea ceremony. And if you're not familiar with what that is, it's a very, venerated type of, almost like a religious ceremony for the people of Japan, where they have to pour, you're in a traditional housing unit, with the special wooden floors, and you're, pouring the tea in a very specific way that takes a lot of practice and whatnot. So you have basically Maul doing this, talking to Devon, and in the article on StarWars.com, it's explained that Sam Witwer specifically attended one of these things in Japan to get ready for the role or something like that. So it's I thought that's really cool attention to detail. Sam Witwer's I'm doing this in a show. I'm gonna actually do this in real life.
That's really cool.
All right, yeah, I had to just change out the light. I'm good to go now. Um, all right, now this is a cool action shot. This reminds me of like some kind of heist. I'm not really sure who to make out with those characters. I don't know if you guys can, but again, I just like the idea of the kinetic nature of this. Like you're looking at this angle perspective of it. Looks like they're walking horizontally, but they're on rappel lines going down, straight down into this large cityscape, which is pretty neat. I'm expecting like a lot of heists and different things because if we're dealing with criminal syndicates, a lot of the times these guys need money. They need things to keep their operations running. So they're doing a lot of ways to get money quick, which is usually stealing.
Oh yeah, we're definitely going to be getting plenty of heists. Like, like you said, that was my first thought when I seen this, because like for me with this trailer and this show in general, I think even though we see some Inquisitors and stuff later on, I think the majority of this show, probably we have 10 episodes, at least 7 of 10 are probably going to be related to like syndicates and stuff. Like we won't deal with the Empire stuff, I think, till closer to the end.
Speaking of Empire, we see an Imperial vehicle, and it's an LAAT, and that's in the background. So that again, that kind of tells you like where we are in the timeline, right? We're still pretty kind of close to like the Republic era if they're still using LAATs. Although in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, they're using LAATs, and I think that's about 5 years after Revenge of the Sith. And by the way, that's when this story is taking place. It's taking place about 5 or 6 years after Revenge of the Sith. So, this is actually taking us further than Bad Batch. So we're seeing this like sequential, going from Clone Wars, going to the Bad Batch, now ending up here, then going to Rebels, right? And then one day we'll get like an original trilogy animated series, hopefully. But, I like this shot here though, because they're talking about their designs and how everything is gritty and just feels like more alive because it's just that classic Star Wars. Everything's dirty and grimy, and it just looks like something straight out of Blade Runner. It's just very dystopian, very like cyberpunk-esque. It's so cool.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't even think about that when we first saw this shot. But you're right. And I've never played Cyberpunk, but I've seen like the art and the videos of it, and you're right. It's got that feel to it.
Yeah. So here we go. We got a shootout between some criminal factions. The criminal factions in Star Wars are some of my favorite aspects of Star Wars. I mean, you have the spaceships, you have the lightsaber duels, you have the Force. Then you also have people like Han Solo and places like the Mos Eisley Cantina where you have these ne'er-do-wells hanging out, taking jobs, and that's a big part of Star Wars. So we're going to shine a big light on that with some different gangs and whatnot.
Oh yeah, it's definitely one of the biggest parts of Star Wars, and especially for a show like this when you have someone who's presumably like sneaking around and all of that, they're gonna have to interact with these different like syndicates or bounty hunters or people like that. So yeah, it's like it's definitely gonna be interesting to see all the factions we get.
Yeah, including, as we're seeing here, the green tinted lighting on the Pikes. The Pike Syndicate. I mean, you can't deal with a criminal story in Star Wars without having the Pikes, so it's a pretty easy one to guess at, although I definitely have some other syndicates I would love to see. The Black Sun, who have been ill-represented in Star Wars canon, I must say. Like, the only time they've showed up was literally Clone Wars, I think, and that's about it. Haven't shown they showed up in the comics, though. They have showed up in the comics.
What? Weren't they in Solo? Like a scene or two?
Oh, they were?
I thought they were.
They might have been.
Wait, the Black Sun? The Pikes or the Black Sun? Because the Pikes were definitely there.
The Pikes.
Oh, yeah, the Pikes were all over.
I think so.
Yeah, the Pikes were in the Kessel Run. And the funny thing about the Pikes in Solo, the way they did their rendition in live action for Solo was like gave them a completely different kind of head design or headgear. And then when they made Book of Boba Fett, I think they like went back to more of like the animated design of them. So it's interesting their journey over the years with jumping back and forth between live action and animation. You obviously get the things churned around here, but even though it's going to be more criminal focused, we are still going to get our fair share of the Empire. I like how they're sticking to their guns of the Macquarie designs, and specifically closer to Clone Wars, the Stormtroopers had that Macquarie Stormtrooper design of like the larger dome on the helmet. Less features, I guess, like less like standout features. It's like more of concept art, but that's kind of cool how that made its way into canon, because we've seen this firsthand in Bad Batch as they shift from deregulating or decommissioning the clones, and then they have the first like mock-up armor of the Stormtroopers. So it's interesting. It's cool.
Oh yeah, it's definitely always cool to see them use those Macquarie designs. I mean, I'd rather that than them just like, go out on a limb and just do something crazy.
Right.
Yeah, so this is our character of Devin Azara. And I would assume that is maybe the character of Icky, I believe it was. It's interesting because when I read that article, I was like, oh, that's new information. Because when I seen the trailer, like, we often see characters with lightsabers, but we don't really actually know if you're a Padawan sometimes. It could just be somebody wielding a lightsaber. It could be somebody that never got trained by Jedi. If this is several years after Clone Wars, this could have been just like a Force-using kid that got a lightsaber and started using it, and maybe it never was part of the Jedi Temple. So we now know that this is a Jedi Padawan. So she has survived Order 66, seen the horrors of it. I'm really looking forward to hearing her story. Although, Order 66, I'm sure we're going to get another crazy flashback, and
Yep,
it's going to
of
be
course.
really heartbreaking and all that kind of stuff. But I'm not sure if this is her actual master, or maybe this is her kind of master in interim that she has found after her master might have got killed or something. But yeah, no, this is cool because that's what we're saying. It's like, oh, the story is about Maul, but you have all these other characters revolving about Maul that can be just as fascinating, if not more fascinating, than the character of Maul themselves. And that's maybe a reason why you want to tune in, just to see characters like this,
Right.
Oh yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting dynamic, and I think it's going to honestly be the reverse of what we see in Rebels, where Ezra stays with Kanan versus going with Maul, and I think it's we'll probably have Maul doing the whole convincing thing, and maybe we get Devin to turn, like I said, it's probably going to be the reverse of the Ezra situation from Rebels.
Yeah, yeah. What happens if she actually joins forces? And speaking of
Yep.
which, like I could see why Maul would want this character on his side, because in this shot we see her, Devin, with the blue lightsaber deflecting an entire squad of stormtroopers blaster fire right back at him before
Mhm.
flipping onto the damn thing. Like, she's got skills, and it's cool to again see the stormtroopers trying to kill a Jedi. It's just usually we're seeing clones doing it, but it's kind of interesting seeing we're this far into the timeline, and then there's still like some Jedi running around, obviously, and they're it's just neat to see the acrobatic prowess of this character. I think she's got a lot of potential. This is just a beautiful shot. This almost looks like a casino or something with all the neon lights here. A lot of crowd design, a lot of characters in the background. So it's a lot of time to animate, to make the world
Right.
feel alive. Just
Well, I
Yeah,
think
I tell
yeah.
you what, I'm impressed with throughout the whole trailer. I am impressed with the visuals and the color choices, because yes, this is a Clone Wars style of animation, but maybe it's me, but I feel like Dave Filoni's saying, listen, because this is the very much the dark times of the Empire and how they're building up. I think he tonally is making the color like this on purpose. Like, isn't a good time for anybody, whether it's for the good guys or bad. Does that make sense?
Oh
Oh
yeah, it
yeah.
definitely does. It definitely has like more of a like grittier, darker. I about said darkier, darker feel. Um, but it definitely does. And honestly, like for like people that really appreciate the animation, like genuinely, when I first watched this trailer, other than me saying, "Oh, it's no surprise this came out after Dave." My
Yeah.
other thought was like, "Oh, I bet Milton's gonna love this trailer because they stepped up the animation for this series."
Yeah.
Yep.
And in this
Yeah.
very shot here, we get to see the propaganda of the Empire. Like they're standing around the stormtroopers, and they have a droid that is flashing. It looks like a bounty sign for Darth Maul. Going, if you've seen this guy, I'm sure there's somebody out there that has the Arabish red to be like bounty or alert or something like that on the thing. But I get to see the cowled figure of Maul as the stormtroopers are going like, do you know anything about this character? Like, I'm expecting to see a lot of like crowd shots in the background of things like that.
Hey, I just thought of something too. Since we have Maul like wearing the cowl and or the hood and everything, like I wonder if we're gonna get his little Sith infiltrator spy droids in this series.
Oh yeah, it's been a while since we've seen those things.
Yeah, and that'd be perfect for something like this.
Yeah. So this is our first look in the trailer at Brander Lawson and his compatriot there, two boots. So I'm guessing it's kind of almost like a relationship between like Cassian and K2. So another human droid counterpart relationship here. I'm pretty sure from what I read, I think Two Boots is like the straight one, very literal, just like, no nonsense. And then Brander again, this character is the one that used to be a bounty hunter, and now he is a part of the law on this planet. And what's interesting is I rambled off the top there with the article. Like there's going to be a tie-in novel, tie-in Marvel comic book series. The first issue comes out about a month before the show, and there's going to be 5 issues, but it's going to be about these two characters, and it's going to be about them trailing Darth Maul through the underworld of this planet. So it seems to me like that comic series might have a lot more weight than a lot of the other recent Star Wars canon as far as like tie-in material for upcoming things. So I'd strongly, I haven't read it yet. Obviously, nobody has, but you'll have my review of it. That's for sure. When we go live that weekend, I'll be talking about that very comic, the first issue, which I could already probably tell you guys. Like, I'm gonna probably recommend, be like, yeah, if you guys really want to know what's going on, read this darn comic. You probably won't need to, but it seems like it could probably be pretty important with being based on these two characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, those types of things, like I always say, if they, make them good quality and they're good tie-in stuff, then, all it can do is just help the viewing experience.
Yeah. So this character here, I think this is just like a no-name guy that's about to get killed by Maul. But I just like the concept, the art design of like the helmet. It kind of reminds me of like the Fleet Trooper, or I originally thought it was like, oh, is this like the underworld security people on on level 1313 in Coruscant, before I knew it was a different planet or something like that. But yeah, these guys are about to get wrecked because we have the triumphant return. Let me get a better one. Triumphant return of the man with the red blade. Like this, right. Milton, was the shot of the trailer, I think, when you just see the ambiance and the presence of Maul just walking down this ramp, and there's the gas of like the exhaust flowing around him, and he ignites the blade, and you can barely see part of his red face, and it's like, oh, these guys are about to die.
So yeah, this reminded me of a couple things. So this reminded me of, remember the cinematic trailers we got for the Knights of the Republic game that a couple years, like maybe 10 years ago?
Oh yeah.
I forget who it was, but anyways,
Malgus,
they were
probably.
fighting Malgus and all them, and they were dealing with that cowboy Han Solo type character, and then they came out. This reminded me of that.
Yeah.
Came out, oh yeah, that's fire. Then I thought about the scene. Again, this ties into Dave Filoni, obviously. The scene where Ahsoka and her story, Tales of a Jedi, when she fought the one Inquisitor, and how they had all the smoke and the fire, and she like sliced him down with his own lightsaber. This reminded me of that aesthetic visually, and I'm thinking, yeah, like we're back to like, he's going to do some shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not playing around, and I'm so excited for what we're going to get. But this sets up perfectly, I think, of who Maul will be during this series.
That's a tone setter. That image of him just walking down, like he is the boss. He is the man that is running things in that city. And if he has to make his presence physical, something is not going to end up good for those on the other side of that lightsaber, man.
Right.
And this is when I want to start talking about some theories here relating to this character of Devin, because I think this is a very important image, the way that this image is focused, where it's like very there's some symbolism here, I feel like, in this image of her in the darkness and ringed around in red, and you see like the horns of Maul, of his shadow, like outside of her head and stuff like that. All right, so I'm not a big Legends guy, but I at least know about this character of Darth Talon, and I'm really kind of hoping it is her at an early age, because there's a number of things that went into this character, Darth Talon. I think she first of all appeared in what, the Legacy comics, Milton, or something, like way after like Luke died or something and all that, or whatever. I don't even know. Whatever.
I think so.
Cade Skywalker, I think, or something. Like, is that what that one?
Yeah, that was later. Yeah, that was later down the road. Like, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So you have that character, Darth Talon, really cool. Like it's the Twi'lek chick with the black Darth Maul-esque tattoos. Really, really hot character, right? Like, I've seen people cosplay her at Celebrations. It's pretty freaking sick. And another thing, she was going to George Lucas. Apparently liked the character so much from those comics that he had penned like part of his treatment, I think, for Ben, the sequel trilogy, was gonna include her as like one of the villains or something, right?
Yeah, I mean, basically, long story short, for anybody that doesn't know, one of the main parts of Lucas's sequels that he sold over to Disney. The funniest thing is, they actually officially announced, adapting George's sequels on Twitter when they first bought Star Wars in 2013. Like, the tweet's still up, actually. But anyways, you actually, so like basically the history of it is you have Luke, older Luke, kind of like Force Awakens Luke, with his young female apprentice, Kira was her name actually. And then you had Darth Maul being the big bad, like the pseudo emperor. And then you had Darth Talon as the pseudo Ben Skywalker spot, I guess I would say, or Darth Vader spot. Like, so it was like Maul and Talon versus Luke and Kira.
Whoa. Maul and Talon.
Yep.
Versus Luke
Maul.
and Kira.
I mean,
wow.
Yeah, because I think in Lucas's treatment, like, they took that whole. You know how they told McDermott he was like the Emperor of the Universe? I'm pretty sure like Maul was listed as like Darth Maul, the Emperor of the Universe or something.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, something like that.
That's crazy. And then another thing that surfaced up, and I remember seeing concept of this and even video footage. Apparently, Darth Talon was going to be part of that Darth Maul canceled video game. Yep. And there's like concept art of her and Maul, and they look like like the Maul concept art looks exactly like this Maul the Maul in this show. Like, the whole outfit looks pretty much exactly the same. So this leads me to believe like there's a lot of articles out there right now saying like, oh yeah, unused George Lucas idea could be made into reality with this new show, and I really hope it works. Like, obviously this is really earlier in the timeline, but what happens if she is the legacy of Darth Maul, and she goes away for years and years, and maybe they'll explain it, maybe they won't. And maybe Darth Talon is being positioned, and I don't know what the lifespan of a Twi'lek usually is, if they can live a little longer than humans. I don't know if that's been established, but like,
everybody survives however long in Star Wars. I mean, Maul survived by hate, by getting chopped in half. So like, she can survive.
So like, hey,
and
maybe
the Emperor got
she's
exploded. So
the villain in Simon Kinberg's trilogy. I would love to see a crossover idea like that. And it's interesting because we're actually going to see a character fall to the dark side if that's the case. And I just hope that Lucasfilm sticks to its guns, because I mean, I liked what they did with Battlefront 2 with the story, but at a certain point, I'm like, if we have a villain in Star Wars, let's keep him a villain. I don't want to see her like go from a Jedi Padawan to being the apprentice of Maul, then leaving Maul to join the Rebel Alliance, because that's been done to death at this point in Star Wars. So I just want to see her be like, maybe she just like I don't need Maul anymore. I can do my own thing. And she just leaves him behind or something like that. I just want to see more. I think this is a cool character already that I'm immediately intrigued by because it's not well. I was gonna say it's not a human, but then I realized, oh, Ahsoka was never a human character anyway. So
Yeah.
it's cool. We got another younger character, kind of like Ahsoka,
Well,
but in a different era now.
so I can't take any, since we're kind of like on little bit of theorizing part of the podcast right now. And I can't take any credit from this theory. This is from Star Wars Santa, so I'll shout him out. His little theory was interesting. What if Dave's positioning her, obviously the Darth Talon thing is there, like it's pretty much plain and obvious it's leaning toward her. But what if she also could be leaning as a potential like a Mara Jade stand-in where, what if we get lore where she turns out to be the Emperor's hand in secret through
Oh,
the original trilogy, and like she thinks she learned under Maul, and then eventually she leaves Maul,
oh,
like you said, and then she gets recruited by the Emperor somehow, and Mara Jade, she got recruited really young by the Emperor, and then she transitions to that villain or even anti-hero role during the Rey stuff later on down the timeline, or even during the Dave movie or the Dave series or whatever. Like, so Santa's theory was like maybe, obviously she wouldn't have like a love interest with Luke. I mean, I guess she could if I was Luke, but like, I think there's that too, where it's like maybe she ends up being kind of like the stand-in for Mara Jade just because I don't think they want to touch Mara just because it's like that's a complicated character to adapt. So this could be like a kind of a mesh point between Talon and Mara's character even.
yeah, absolutely. Would love that. Would love that. So getting through the rest of these at a faster clip because I know we do have a set time here. Just a quick. We'll have so many episodes of speculation and theorizing. We'll do our usual preview episode before the first episode, talking about all these very things. But yeah, I would love that. Simple shot, Darth Maul. Not much to explain here, just other than this is our best look at him without the without the hood on. Pretty cool stuff there. This next shot reminds me of Jeddah in Rogue One, where it's like, yeah, the presence of the Empire looms overhead. Like these people are being oppressed, even though it's saying like Janix is a free place. Maybe this is after the fact that they get caught wind of Maul around, and now the Empire is sending out all their guns. It's just a great shot, and it's like the only shot we see of it in the daytime. Like every other shot in this is like covered in darkness.
It means it's probably the first episode, and after it gets corrupted by the Empire, then it's going to be in darkness the whole time.
Right.
We got Rook cast, as I mentioned before, with the cast list. Vanessa Marshall's reprising her role as this character. Remember at the end of Clone Wars, Siege of Mandalore, she's like rescuing Maul or something. Like, oh, we're gonna go here or something.
Yeah.
So they have a base of operations somewhere. But yeah, Mandalorians are still in league with Maul. All right, moving on from there. This is. What are we actually? Oh, this is. I had to look for a moment. This is just an action shot of the character of Devin ripping out a pilot from its moving starship and hijacking the heck out of this thing. This character has some serious skill. Really, really.
You know
cool
what that
stuff.
reminded me of, Chris, when I seen that shot? It reminded me of. This is totally non-Star Wars. Definitely with me and Chris being Halo nerds. It reminded me of like in Halo, jumping into like a moving Banshee, and ripping the pilot out and throwing him out. Like it reminded me of something like that. Literally, when I seen that shot, I was like, man, those were the old Halo days. That's literally the first thing I thought of.
Yep. The next shot that comes to mind for me as a hobbyist for miniatures is like, I'm sure Atomic Mass Games is already hard at work creating this as the next Empire Army miniature, which is a new vehicle we haven't seen in Star Wars before. I don't know, it's like some kind of occupier type crowd control walker that looks like a beefed up ATST. So I love when I get to see new completely new designs of vehicles in Star Wars, because I know I'm like, oh, I'll probably have that as a miniature.
Oh,
Oh man, you gotta love it. Moving in. Okay, this is cool. There's this character. It looks like this is the character of Icky, who is the partner or master, whatever, of Devin. Doesn't have a lightsaber, but sure has strong use of the Force. And Force pushing like some kind of speeder out of the way is they just stand proudly in front of this thing going like 100 miles an hour. So I've already like, oh, is this a Trandoshan? I think it's
Yeah,
a
what
very
is that?
short Trandoshan. There's a lot of
Maybe.
reptilian species in Star Wars, so I might be getting it wrong with something. Or it could be something brand new. I don't know.
yes, I don't know what that is.
This gets me excited because this shows you the depth and the amount of violence that this show will have. It shows Maul impaling some poor sap up against the wall with his lightsaber. I'm like, yo, this is straight up carnage,
Yeah.
just completely wrecks the guy.
Yeah, he's that's Darth Maul. It's not even a question. Like, I'm glad they're doing it, and I think some people would be. I'm sure there's people out there who's like, "Oh, it was way too violent." It's like, one is animation, but this is what the character is. He's a violent character. He's not about rainbows and butterflies and puppies.
Yeah, you have Darth
Yeah.
Maul. He better be killing fools. Is basically the end of the story here. You can't just have him
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah.
He's got to do something.
Yeah. All I'm saying is, I hope we don't get to the end of this series and they like turn Maul into a pseudo pacifist by the end of it, and then his only mission is Kenobi or something. Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Because that's always the concern with shows nowadays. Is like we got to make everyone a hero, a super nice guy, and I hope they keep Maul, nice and edgy, and this shot shows he is up to this point, anyways.
Yeah, I think Lucasfilm has heard the feedback from characters like especially like Luke Skywalker and whatnot, and like we know what the character archetypes and why we love these characters. Maybe just don't change them that drastically, and the fans will be fine. So having Maul just mercilessly wrecking people to no end. That's what everybody
Right, yep.
wants right now. We want a dark, gritty kind of just like this is that story. This is gonna be where it works the best. Let's just lean into it. Leaning into it with a flamethrower, just like this Mandalorian, which I think that's Rick Cass, which is pretty badass. It looks like there's some riot shield stormtroopers or something. So cool stuff there as we get toward the end of the trailer. We also have this character that Milton made a reference to, talking about the episode of the Tales of the Jedi with the Inquisitor, where Ahsoka like kills this guy, like just uses a saber against him. Yeah, this guy's back.
Yep.
Yep.
So,
Isn't he the one that also says the Emperor wants you dead?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, think about that. That's going to be. I honestly think, like I said earlier, we'll deal with the crime syndicates and stuff, but I think this might be an early part of the show. So Maul is kind of on the run from the Empire, from the Inquisitors, from people, whatever. And I think that's going to like lay the groundwork where eventually it does lead to more of a heftier Imperial interaction, potentially with like Vader or a higher ranking Inquisitor. Maybe we see the Grand Master Inquisitor eventually at the end of this or
Oof.
something.
Speaking of Inquisitor, we got Marak. Don't know what number he is, what brother he is, but he is certainly alive and well. And maybe, yeah, that's what's great about Star Wars, right? It's like you can get these characters that don't have a good backstory and we just see them die or something. And then like 5 years later, they'll be like, oh, here's an animated series that explains who the hell this character is. So even if we don't get the answer in one thing, there's always a possibility we'll get it in something else. So.
Oh yeah,
That's
for
the
sure. It
beauty
is
of-
peculiar
yeah.
that they had a different actor play Marak when Sam
Oh.
Witwer played him in the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
Sam
That's
Witwer-
crazy.
Yeah, Sam was the voice of the live action one.
I don't even remember him
and then-
talking.
Yeah. Sam was the voice of the live action one, and it's funny because he's credited, and the only thing I think he says is like or something. It's like a grunt. but he's credited for that in the live action. So it's just interesting.
Yeah. Chris Forsyth in the chat is saying, "Fart ghost number 5."
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh man! Oh, this is cool. This is actually this image shows us the absolute scale, guys, of this show. They are sparing no expense. Like, from what I can gather in this shot, you have a bridge, very long bridge, and in the middle of the bridge, you have an entire gang of what looks like criminals in a shootout with an entire battalion of stormtroopers on the other end. And then there's some other thing blocking them on their other side from another battalion of stormtroopers trying to get through that. It's like, oh dang, this show is gonna have like armies of people. This is pretty freaking cool. Like, we haven't seen this kind of scale since Clone Wars.
Right. No, I think it's going to be very telling. I think that's why I'm excited about this show. Yes, we've gotten a lot of these aesthetics before, but it just looks, I don't know, man. Something about it just makes it pop more. And I'm curious to see that we're not going to see just a good guy perspective. We're going to see literally villains, scumbags, all that stuff. Like, it's going to force us as viewers to be like, hey, like, how can we relate to these people? You know?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I guess my thing with all these people as well, it's just like the interesting thing for all of us hardcore fans to keep in mind, you know, we're seeing all of these types of people from like these screenshots, like more of like the criminal element side of Star Wars. But we also got to remember Maul does transition to Dathomir at some point during this time period, because in Solo, you know, he tells Kira, you know, meet me back at Dathomir. So, you know, are we going to get him? Like, maybe we get a point in this show where like he's, you know, maybe that's where Darth Moore Talon gets like her, you know, official Sith look or something or whatever, because, you know, it just makes me wonder if we're going to eventually get Dathomir. It may not be this season, but I feel like we have to get Maul on Dathomir at some point during this series.
Oh yeah, he's got to go back to his birthplace. You know.
Yeah.
It would make sense. You have a show about Maul. Let's explore every aspect, every layer of him. And the final thing here, what a way to leave off on the trailer. What a spectacular move. Maul throws the double-bladed lightsaber, basically bisects, I would imagine. It's cutting in half about 3 stormtroopers as it flies through them, ends up in his hand as he attacks, I think, Marak or something. And it's like, it was a beautiful arc that saber had. And it's the red lightsaber, and it's just so cool. Again, to have a story about a bad guy just butchering stormtroopers. It's like, yeah, this is gonna be great. How could we go wrong?
Oh yeah.
And that's the teaser trailer for Maul Shadow Lord. It's a teaser, so I'm sure as we get closer, we might get an official trailer, maybe another minute plus trailer for that. And I'm awaiting, hopefully. There's no indication in this article saying it's a one and done season. Star Wars has never done a one and done season for any animation. The lowest they've gotten was 2 seasons with Star Wars Resistance, but that never had a huge fan base from the beginning. Where I can already tell you, there's going to be a lot more people.
Series.
Yeah, that's probably a good indicator. I would expect we're going to get multiple seasons. I'm looking forward to the expedited release schedule of this. I appreciate that they're not just going to drop it all in binge format, but they're going to make it more of an event where it's like, hey, me, you, and me, Milton, and Ben are going to be on here every week for 5 weeks talking about Star Wars Maul Shadow Lord, and then like 2 weeks later, we're all going to be back on here talking about Mandalorian and Grogu. Like, that's going to be a killer 2 months of Star Wars, and it's going to be a great position from Disney to do it that way, because it's going to get people revved up and excited. They're going to be like, what? They're going to be like getting ready for Mandalorian Grogu, and I'm going to be the guy. We're going to be the type of people that are going to be like, oh yeah, there's that movie coming out, but did you know there's a new awesome Star Wars show that is Maul? And it's going to be like a good promotion tool for them. Like, you can start watching new Star Wars right now, getting ready and getting hyped for the first Star Wars movie in 7 years. So it's a good time to be alive for a Star Wars fan. We got a Maul TV series coming up, looking badass. I want to know what you guys have to say in the comment section down below. You can leave a comment on the video if you're watching it after the fact. But yes, Really excited. Everybody in the chat has been excited for this one as well. 2 a week is great because, like you said, Ben, it's just like, hey, one episode doesn't jive with us. Hey, we got another one coming up right afterwards. So a good way to kind of keep our appetite wet.
Oh yeah, for sure. I do think also to add in there as one more little thing for our viewers and everybody as a reminder, even if you're not a huge sports fan, I would say tune into the Super Bowl this next Sunday.
Oh,
At
yeah.
6:30. It's 6:30 because we got to realize, like, of course, for movies, all the other releases like Force Awakens and such were in winter time, but Solo did drop its trailer during the Super Bowl that year. So this, for me, I think with Star Wars coming back to theaters for the first time in 7 years, I think it's probably a 80% chance we get a Mando and Grogu trailer during the Super Bowl, if I had to guess.
There's an article I'm looking at right now from Deadline that
really?
came out today, actually.
Oh,
And
wow.
the title says Mandalorian and Grogu, Michael, Stream 7, and more in play for Super Bowl movie trailers. So,
well, hey,
there you go. I think
perfect
we're
timing,
getting at it.
Okay, well, there we go, guys. So yeah, definitely keep an eye out because I think they got to make it special. It's they got to make it an interesting trailer and just
And that is
just
the
get people
key.
excited.
That is the key. You said the special word interesting. Please be more interesting than the teaser trailer. Give us something. Give us Pedro's face without the helmet. Do something. I don't know.
You gotta remember, interesting is different for you and me and Milton than it is for you and me and Milton's mom or dad. And I think the big thing, I think the money shot of this trailer, if it is coming out next week, I think we're gonna get some either action sequence or it'll be a very cute shot of Grogu doing Grogu stuff, just to remind people Grogu is still a cute little alien or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think they're definitely going to do something to hook the audience to get it back, get the general people, put it on the radar.
Yeah. So, hey, we might be doing 2 trailer breakdowns within 2 weeks because we will not be back next week, but we'll be back the week later to just basically break down another trailer. I'm going to say we're going to get a trailer. It's going to happen, guys. I don't know anything, but I have a feeling it's going to happen. Where else would it come out? We're about 3 months away from the movie at this point. So now is the time to give us another trailer. But we're going to leave off on that good positive note here. I'm going to send it over to Milton to plug away. Where can the people find you online?
Yeah, the people can find me on Twitter at MiltonWeber7 or on Instagram at Milton7Weber. Appreciate you guys listening and watching us whenever we're on weekly or bi-weekly. Yeah, man, looking forward to hopefully some cool trailers, I guess, this upcoming Sunday for the Super Bowl, because we know that game won't be nothing special. I mean, they're not my teams, but yeah, I'm just excited for where Star Wars is at. Hopefully, Dave and his team will give us some more excitement throughout the spring and summer coming up. So I'm excited.
There we go. And Ben?
Yeah, I mean, you can find me talking about all that similar stuff as well at Real Ben Maynard on X and Instagram. And, it's going to be a good week. It's going to be a good time for Star Wars fans. We've, the first week of Dave being co-president, we get a Maul trailer. And the second week, we might be getting a Mando trailer. So, just stacking up wins.
That's what you talk about. I mean, is it coincidence that as soon as Dave Filoni becomes co-president, that all of a sudden we're getting all this great Star Wars content to talk about? I don't know. He's like us. He's like, let's give the people what they want. Here's a trailer for you. Here's a trailer for you. Here's this. It's like, all right, you start off strong.
I think, just to throw this in there, not to extend the podcast too much further, I think that's the big missing point with like Dave being the co-president of Lucasfilm right now, is he can get to the mindset of being a hardcore fan thinking, all right, guys, we haven't released a trailer in X amount of time. If I was a fan, or if I wasn't running Lucasfilm, when would I like a trailer? You know what I mean? So I feel like he's going to be able to put much more of a fan's perspective on even the marketing side of things, to be like, hey, let's get something out there, even if it's a 30-second clip.
Yeah. Yeah, so in 2 weeks' time, hopefully that's what the discussion topic will be. You guys can listen to the podcast on any podcast app of your choice, whether it be Spotify, Apple, and more. Just search Outer Rim Transmission, and do give us a like and any positive comment on those audio casts. And you could watch us live on YouTube at youtube.com/Starrapter. Thanks for the chat. Thanks for participating in the chat. Makes our conversations here pretty fun and interactive. But until next time, this was Outer Rim Transmission, episode 221. For Milton, for Ben, for I, Chris, aka Starrapter. Thanks for watching. May the force be with you always. End transmission.